Sometimes the greatest lessons in life are taught in silence, not in the crowd, not in the noise, but in the moments when it's just you and God. You've been wondering why people are walking away, why doors that once opened easily are now locked, why you feel like you're standing all by yourself. Hear me when I say this. You're not being abandoned, you're being trained. God is not punishing you, He's preparing you. He's separating you to strengthen you, because there are some battles that cannot be fought with company. They must be fought in solitude. In that solitude, God is shaping something unshakable inside of you. You see, we love the crowd, we love the applause, we love the company of people who make us feel seen, validated, and supported. But what happens when God pulls you out of the circle? What happens when the phone stops ringing, when the friends you depended on go silent, and when you look around and there's nobody left but you? That's when you realize this season isn't about who left, it's about who's still there. And sometimes the only one still standing with you is God. God uses isolation not to destroy you, but to develop you. He takes you away from the crowd so He can have your full attention. Because when you're surrounded by voices, it's easy to lose His voice. When you're distracted by people's opinions, it's hard to hear His direction. So this is your season of standing alone, not because you're weak, not because you're forgotten, but because you're being built. God is teaching you how to walk without applause, how to trust without evidence, and how to stand even when everything around you seems to be falling. You might not understand it now, but one day you'll thank God for every person who walked away, every door that closed, and every tear that fell. Because those things didn't break you, they built you. This season is not the end. It's the beginning of the version of you that can stand strong, pray hard, and walk boldly even when nobody else believes in you. There are seasons when God begins to pull you away from what is familiar. You start to notice the shift. Conversations that once flowed easily become heavy. Invitations stop coming. The noise quiets down. Suddenly you find yourself alone. And in that moment, confusion starts to whisper in your ear. You ask, God, why are you taking people out of my life? Why are you shutting doors that I thought were blessings? Why does it feel like everything I built is falling apart? But what if I told you that God is not taking things from you to hurt you? He's taken them to prepare you. Separation is not rejection. It is preparation. God will separate you from certain people, from certain environments, from certain comforts, because what He's about to do in your life requires a different level of focus, strength, and surrender. Every calling demands a cutting. Before every elevation, there must be isolation. Think about it. When God wants to do something extraordinary through you, He cannot allow you to remain surrounded by ordinary distractions. He has to clear the noise so you can hear His voice clearly. He has to remove the people who influence your emotions more than His Spirit does. It's not that those people were evil. It's just that they can't go where God is taking you. Some relationships are only meant to exist in the season where you were still learning who you were. Once you start stepping into who God designed you to become, He begins trimming away the extra weight that cannot survive at the altitude of your destiny. When God separates you, it can feel painful because it touches what you thought you needed. We cling to people, patterns, and environments that once made us feel secure. But God's plan is not to keep you comfortable. It's to make you complete. So when He starts stripping away the things you thought defined you, He's not trying to leave you empty. He's trying to make room for something greater. He's removing dependence on what's temporary so you can learn to depend on what's eternal. You cannot carry everyone into your next season because not everyone is built to handle the weight of your purpose. Some people are not bad, but they are not assigned to your destiny. God will sometimes use separation as a filter to protect you from connections that look right, but are not right for where He's taking you. In these moments, you have to trust the process even when you don't understand it. You have to learn to thank God not only for the people who came into your life, but also for the ones who left. You have to thank Him not only for the doors that opened, but also for the ones that slammed shut. because everything that exits your life in this season is part of God's plan to make room for what's meant to enter. When you pray for growth, God doesn't always add, sometimes He subtracts. When you pray for strength, He doesn't always hand it to you. Sometimes He removes your crutches so you learn how to stand on your own feet. Separation exposes what's real. When the crowd is gone, you begin to see who truly stands with you. And more importantly, you begin to see that the one who stands with you is more than enough. God isolates you not to break you, but to reveal Himself to you in a deeper way. The silence of this season is not absence, it's intimacy. Everything quiets down, that's when His voice becomes clear. That's when your faith starts to grow roots. Care enough. That's when you learn that peace doesn't come from company. It comes from connection to the Creator. So don't fight the separation. Don't rush to fill the empty spaces that God is creating. Don't try to drag people into seasons they were never meant to survive in. Trust that God knows what He's doing. You may not see it now, but one day you'll look back and realize that every separation was divine surgery. He was cutting away what could harm you, what could limit you, what could distract you from the vision He planted inside you. You were never losing. You were being pruned for greater fruit. You were never abandoned. You were being positioned for greater alignment. The caterpillar doesn't understand why the cocoon has to close. It feels dark, it feels lonely, it feels still. But in that separation, transformation is happening. Wings are forming in silence. Purpose is being shaped in the hidden place. And when the time is right, same creature that once crawled now flies. That's what God is doing with you. You're in your cocoon season. You're in your separation season. Feels like loss, but it's actually preparation for liftoff. Separation is where strength is born. It's where faith is refined. It's where identity is clarified. You'll come out of this not bitter but better, not broken but built, not empty but equipped. The ones who once doubted you will see the change and realize that the same isolation that scared you is actually the key to your transformation. So if you're standing in a season of separation right now, don't let your heart grow weary. Don't let loneliness make you question your worth. Don't let silence make you think God has stopped speaking. He's working behind the scenes, rearranging your life, preparing your path, and building your foundation for something that can only stand if it's rooted in Him. You're being prepared for a greater stage, a higher purpose, a deeper faith. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. Separation is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a stronger, wiser, and more grounded version of you. God is using this season to teach you how to stand, not with everyone around you, but with Him alone. There comes a moment in every believer's life when God begins to strip away the things we've been leaning on for too long. The people, the systems, the support, all the things that once made us feel secure suddenly start to fade. The same crowd that used to cheer for you grows quiet, and the same hands that lifted you up are no longer there. It's confusing. It's painful. You begin to wonder what you did wrong, but in truth, God is doing something right. He's teaching you not to depend on the crowd for strength, because as long as your confidence is tied to people, your stability will always be fragile. He wants to move you from dependence on human affirmation to dependence on divine assurance. God will intentionally create seasons. The people you thought would always be there suddenly can't be found. It's not because He wants you to feel abandoned, but because He wants you to find out where your real strength comes from. You rely on others for validation, for identity, or for motivation. You'll always live at the mercy of their approval. The moment they withdraw their support, your confidence crumbles. But when your strength is rooted in God, you can stand even when no one else stands with you. You can move forward even when the applause stops. You can keep believing even when you have no one cheering you on. The crowd feels good. It's dangerous if you start to need it. Crowds can be fickle. The same people who praise you today can criticize you tomorrow. The same people who celebrate you when you succeed might distance themselves when you struggle. That's why God will often take you through a season of separation, not to humiliate you, but to humble you. He's teaching you how to keep walking even when the claps fade, how to keep working even when no one notices, How to keep trusting even when encouragement is scarce. Because real faith isn't proven in popularity, it's proven in perseverance. Power that comes from being alone with God. When the voices around you go silent, His voice becomes louder. When the hands that helped you are gone, His hand starts to lift you higher. God will let certain people step aside just so you can see that He's been the one holding you all along. Sometimes He'll let you lose what you thought you needed to reveal that He was the source behind it the whole time. The job, the friend group, support system. Those were channels, not sources. The source was always Him. When He removes the channels, it's not loss, it's redirection. He's redirecting your dependence away from what's temporary toward what's eternal. Think about the times when you felt most alone. Those were the moments that pushed you to pray differently, to seek deeper, to listen more closely. When everything was working and everyone was around, you didn't have to depend on faith. But when the crowd disappeared, you had to rely on God for every step, every breath, every decision. And that's exactly where He wants you. In the place where you know that if He doesn't do it, it won't get done. That's where spiritual maturity is born. That's where confidence in God replaces comfort in people. Some of you are frustrated because what used to work doesn't work anymore. The people you used to call don't answer. The doors that used to open are closed. Favor that once came easily now seems distant. But that's not rejection, that's redirection. God is teaching you to build your foundation on Him alone. Because as long as your foundation depends on human support, it will shake when people shift. He's making you unshakable by shifting your weight onto Him. You see, there's a difference between walking with people and depending on people. Walking with people is healthy. God never intended for us to live in isolation forever. But depending on people for what only He can provide is dangerous. People are limited. They can encourage you, but they can't sustain you. They can walk beside you, but they can't carry you through your calling. When you learn that distinction, you stop being disappointed when people don't show up the way you expected. You stop taking it personally when others walk away, because now you understand they were never meant to be your source. Even Jesus had moments when the crowd left Him. When He multiplied bread and fish, the crowds followed. But when He started speaking truth that challenged them, many walked away. Yet He didn't chase them. He didn't beg them to stay. He turned to the ones who remained and said, "Will you also go away?" Because He understood that purpose is not powered by popularity. God's plan for your life doesn't depend on how many people believe in it. If He called you, that's all the confirmation you need. There will be seasons when you feel like you're walking alone through unfamiliar ground, and that's when you have to remember, the crowd doesn't carry you, the calling does. God's strength doesn't come through applause. It comes through assurance. Assurance that no matter who walks away, He will never leave. Assurance that even if the world goes silent, His word still speaks. Assurance that your value isn't measured by the volume of people cheering for you, but by the voice of the one who created you. So stop looking for strength in people who were never designed to hold that place in your life. Stop depending on the energy of the crowd to fuel your purpose. You don't need a stage full of supporters to be strong. You just need a quiet moment with God. Because when you know who you are in Him, you stop needing the world to remind you. You become stable in storms, steady in rejection, secure in solitude. And that's the kind of strength that can't be taken away. God is stripping you of dependence on the crowd because He's calling you to a higher place where not everyone can go. He's separating you, not to leave you lonely, but to make you strong enough to stand on His word alone. When you come out of this, you'll realize that you never needed the crowd to survive. You needed the Christ to sustain you. And when you have Him, you have everything you'll ever need. Loneliness is one of the hardest feelings a person can face. It creeps in quietly when the people you depended on begin to fade, when your phone no longer rings as much, when your circle gets smaller and your room feels emptier. It is in those moments that you start to wonder, why do I feel so alone? Where's everyone I thought would be here? But what if I told you that this loneliness isn't a curse? It's a calling. What if the silence you're hearing isn't the absence of people, but the presence of God? There are times when loneliness becomes holy because it's in that sacred quiet that God begins to do his deepest work inside of you. You see, when you're surrounded by people, it's easy to get caught up in their voices, their opinions, and their approval. You start to shape yourself around what they expect from you. But when God pulls you into solitude, he's not isolating you to punish you. He's isolating you to purify you. He's stripping away every external influence that's been speaking louder than his spirit. Because in the noise of life, you can't always hear what he's trying to say. It's in the loneliness that his whispers become clear. It's in the silence that you start to feel his nearness. Some of the most powerful transformations happen when no one else is watching. When it's just you, your pain and your prayers, that's where strength is born. That's where clarity begins. God uses the quiet to recalibrate your soul. He lets you sit in that loneliness so you can learn that your peace doesn't depend on people's presence, but on his presence. Because as long as you think you need people to feel whole, you'll keep chasing relationships to fill what only God can heal. When you learn to embrace loneliness as something holy, you stop fearing it, you stop running from it. You begin to see that it's actually a place of divine encounter. Remember how many times in Scripture God met people when they were alone. Moses in the desert, Elijah in the cave, Jacob wrestling in the night, Jesus praying on the mountain. Every one of them found their greatest revelation in isolation. Because God often waits until you're away from the crowd to show you who you really are. He doesn't reveal identity in the noise. He reveals it in the stillness. You may feel forgotten right now, but you're not forgotten. You're being found. God is drawing you closer, removing the distractions, and teaching you how to walk with him on a deeper level. The kind of relationship he's building with you in this season isn't one that depends on emotional highs or public affirmation. It's rooted in quiet trust, in deep faith, in private worship. It's the kind of relationship that doesn't crumble when no one else understands what you're going through. It's a holy bond that stands strong in silence. There's a beauty in learning how to be content in God's presence alone. When you start to find peace in solitude, you discover a strength that doesn't shake when people leave. You begin to realize that you were never truly alone. You just didn't recognize the one who was sitting beside you. That's what makes loneliness holy. It's the place where you finally see that God never left. You were just too surrounded by others to notice him before. When you sit in that space, your prayers change. You stop asking for people to come back, and you start thanking God for being enough. You stop crying about who left and start rejoicing about who stayed. Because when everyone else walked away, he didn't. When you had nothing left to give, he still called you his own. That's the kind of love that doesn't leave when it's inconvenient. That's the kind of companionship that can carry you through any storm. The truth is, some lessons can only be learned in isolation. You can't learn how to depend on God while you're still depending on people. You can't learn how to listen to his voice if you're still addicted to the noise. That's why he allows these seasons of stillness. Not to punish you, to perfect you. He's preparing your spirit to handle the next level of your purpose. Because when you come out of this season, you'll walk differently. You'll speak differently. You'll worship differently. You'll know that your peace comes from something deeper than company. It comes from communion. Maybe you've been fighting the loneliness, trying to fill it with distractions, relationships, or noise. But what if, instead of fighting it, you embraced it? What if you sat with it long enough to feel God's heartbeat in the quiet? What if you realized that this silence is not empty? It's sacred. You are standing in holy ground, even if it feels like isolation. God is there in the stillness, waiting for you to stop striving so he can start speaking. When you begin to see loneliness as holy, you stop seeing it as something to escape. You understand that it's a sacred classroom where God teaches you how to walk by faith and not by sight, how to worship without witnesses, how to stand without support. It's in that solitude that he rebuilds your confidence, not in people, but in his promises. When this season passes, because it will, You will not come out of the same. You'll come out stronger, wiser, and more grounded. You'll no longer need crowds to feel valuable. You'll no longer chase after people's approval to feel loved. You'll walk with quiet confidence, knowing that the God who met you in your loneliness is the same God who will walk with you into every new chapter. So if you're in a lonely place right now, lift your head. Don't despise this season. Don't rush it. Let God finish the work He's doing in you. Because when He's done, you'll realize that what felt like loneliness was really holiness, that what felt like loss was actually transformation. You'll see that you were never truly alone. You were standing in the presence of the one who never leaves, never forsakes, and never fails. Every one of us has faced a moment when a door we wanted to open stayed closed. You prayed about it. You worked for it. You believed it was meant for you, but no matter what you did, the door just wouldn't move. You stood there knocking, pleading, questioning, maybe even crying, wondering why it wouldn't open. You started to think maybe you weren't good enough, or maybe you didn't try hard enough. But what if the door didn't open because God Himself closed it? What if that door wasn't a sign of rejection, but of divine redirection? Every closed door in your life isn't meant to destroy your faith. It's meant to deepen it. Because when God closes a door, He's not saying no to your destiny. He's saying, trust me, I have something better prepared for you. Sometimes we become so focused on the door we want that we miss the direction God is trying to lead us in. We keep pushing, we keep forcing, we keep trying to make something work that God has already removed His hand from. It could be a relationship that's fading, job that feels wrong, or an opportunity that keeps slipping away no matter how much effort you give. Here's what you need to understand. When God closes a door, He's protecting you from what's on the other side. You think you're losing something good, but He knows that what's behind that door could delay your destiny or damage your spirit. He shuts it out of mercy, not anger. He denies it because He loves you too much to let you settle for less than what He planned for you. We often forget that God sees what we can't. We see the moment, He sees the future. We see comfort, He sees calling. We see what looks perfect from the outside, He sees what's broken on the inside. So He closes a door. It's because He knows that what's ahead doesn't align with the purpose He placed inside of you. The closed door isn't rejection. It's redirection, a way of turning your steps toward the path that will actually lead you to peace, not pain. You may not understand it now. One day you'll look back and thank Him for every door He didn't let open. When doors close, our first instinct is to question God. We say, why me? Why now? Why this? But instead of asking why, try asking what? God, what are you trying to show me? What are you protecting me from? What are you preparing me for? Because the same door that hurts you when it shuts may one day save you from heartbreak, failure, or distraction. Sometimes, closed door is the only thing keeping you from walking into something that would have destroyed you. And even though it feels painful in the moment, it's proof that God is working in your favor. Think about how many times in your past you thought you needed something desperately. A certain person, a specific job, an opportunity you were sure was meant for you. And when it didn't work out, you were crushed. But now, looking back, you can see that it was never meant to be yours. You can see that what felt like a loss was actually protection. That's how God works. He doesn't always explain His moves while you're in the middle of them. He simply closes the door, knowing that one day you'll see the wisdom behind it. Closed doors are not punishments, they're positioning tools. God uses them to redirect your energy, to realign your focus, and to build your faith. Because every door opened easily, you would never learn how to trust His timing. You would never develop patience, endurance, or spiritual maturity. Closed doors force you to lean on Him instead of your own understanding. They push you into prayer, into reflection, into surrender. They remind you that the path to purpose is not straight. It twists, it turns, and sometimes it stops abruptly just so God can show you another way. The truth is, God never closes a door without already having another one prepared. He won't show you the next one until you've learned to stop pounding on the last one. Sometimes we stay stuck outside a closed door so long that we miss the open one standing right behind us. You can't walk into your future if you keep staring at the past. You can't receive what's next if your hands are still clinging to what was. Trust that the same God who closed the door knows how to open the right one at the right time. His timing is perfect even when it feels painful. So instead of resenting the door that closed, start releasing it. Start thanking God for protecting you from things you didn't even know could hurt you. Thank Him for not letting temporary desires destroy permanent destiny. Thank Him for the no's that shaped your path and for the delays that became your deliverance. Sometimes what you call a setback is actually a setup for something greater. You might be crying over a closed door today. Tomorrow you'll be rejoicing when you see where that redirection led you. When one door closes, don't lose your faith. Don't stop praying. Don't stop believing that God is still in control. Every closed door carries a hidden message. I've got something better. You may not see it now. One day the pain will make sense. You'll realize that the door you thought you needed was too small for the blessing God wanted to give you. You'll see that He was not taking something from you. He was making room for something new. So lift your head and let that door close. Let it shut without fear, without regret, without anger. Because if God closed it, you don't need it to fulfill your purpose. What's coming next will be worth every disappointment, every tear, and every unanswered prayer. The door that shut wasn't your ending, it was your direction toward destiny. One day, you'll see that the closed doors were never barriers. They were blessings in disguise, guiding you to where you were always meant to be. There are moments in life when everything feels quiet, when it seems like nothing is happening. You start to wonder if God has forgotten about you. You pray, you wait, and still there's no visible sign of movement. It's in those still, silent seasons that many people start to lose heart. But what if I told you that God is still working, even when you can't see it? What if I told you that the silence isn't a sign of absence, but a signal that God is building something deep within you? Because that's what He does. He builds character in quiet places. He shapes your heart, your patience, your discipline, your endurance when no one is watching. We often want God to move publicly, to bless us in ways that everyone can see, to show His hand in big, deniable ways. But God doesn't build greatness in the spotlight. He builds it in the shadows. He takes you away from the noise, away from the crowd, into seasons of quiet development. He knows that if you rise too soon, the weight of your blessing will crush you. So before He elevates you, He strengthens you. Before He puts you on display, He develops you in secret. That's why sometimes it feels like your prayers are unanswered and your progress is invisible. Because God is doing invisible work in you that will sustain you for the visible seasons ahead. Every person God has ever used greatly, He has first hidden deeply. The seed doesn't grow on the surface, it grows underground. You don't see it moving, but it's expanding, it's forming roots, it's being prepared to break through. The same thing is happening with you. When you feel buried, you're not buried, you're planted. And the quiet place is where God waters your roots. It's where He refines your motives, strengthens your faith enough, and tests your obedience. He's not punishing you by hiding you. He's protecting you until you're ready to handle the weight of what's coming. Sometimes God will even delay your progress to deepen your character. Because if your character doesn't match your calling, your success will destroy you. That's why He takes time. He's not just preparing blessings for you, He's preparing you for the blessings. He's teaching you how to be faithful in small things so that when the big things come, you can carry them with humility and wisdom. The quiet place is where He removes pride, where He teaches patience, and where He shows you that value isn't measured by visibility. In today's world, we're addicted to noise. We think business means purpose and visibility means value. But God's process is different. He will sometimes pull you away from the spotlight to remind you that your worth isn't determined by who sees you. It's determined by who shaped you. He'll let you sit in silence so you can rediscover what really matters. Because when everything is loud, you start chasing attention instead of direction. You start performing for approval instead of walking in purpose. The quiet place removes the clutter so you can hear him clearly again. There's something sacred about being unseen. In that hidden season, your intentions are purified. When no one's watching, your heart is tested. Will you still do the right thing when no one's there to applaud you? Will you still pray when there's no audience? Will you still believe when there's no breakthrough in sight? That's where true character is built. In the quiet, private moments where your faith meets your perseverance. Those are the moments that define who you become. You may not realize it now. The very thing you're frustrated with, the waiting, the stillness, the hiddenness, is God's workshop. He's chiseling away everything in you that could cause you to fall later. He's teaching you to depend on him, not on results. He's showing you how to be content in his timing instead of your own. He's preparing your heart to carry what your hands have been praying for. Because blessings without preparation lead to collapse. But blessings that come after seasons of quiet refinement lead to endurance. Don't despise the quiet. Don't think the lack of movement means the absence of meaning. The quiet place is where God does his most powerful work. You might feel invisible right now. That's only because God is working behind the curtain. He's shaping something you can't yet see. When the time comes, he reveals what he's been preparing. You'll understand why it had to take so long and why it had to be done in private. Think of a sculptor working on a masterpiece. The process is slow, deliberate, and often unseen. The artist spends hours carving, refining, and perfecting every detail long before the sculpture is unveiled. That's what God is doing with you. You are his masterpiece, and he's shaping you carefully. Process may feel painful, but it's producing something beautiful inside you. He's building character that fame can't buy, discipline that opportunity can't replace, and faith that circumstances can't shake. So if you find yourself in a quiet place, don't rush it. Don't try to escape it. Don't mistake silence for stillness. God is speaking in ways you might not recognize. He's teaching you to trust his presence even when his voice seems distant. He's developing you in the dark so that when he brings you into the light, you'll shine without arrogance, serve without pride, and lead without losing your humility. The quiet place is where you become unshakable. Care enough. It's where you learn that yours doesn't come from attention, but from alignment. It's where you stop performing for people and start living for purpose. So let God work. Let him take his time. Let him build in you the kind of character that can carry the calling he's placed on your life. Because when you finally step out of this quiet season, you'll be ready, not just to be seen, but to stand. You'll know that everything he did in the shadows was preparing you for everything revealed in the light. There are times in life when the storms come without warning. The skies darken, the winds rise, and before you know it, everything around you feels unstable. In those moments, fear begins to whisper that things will never be the same again, that what you're going through will break you. But what if the storm wasn't sent to destroy you, but to strengthen you? What if instead of asking God to remove the storm, he's asking you to stay still and trust that he's in control of it? Because sometimes peace doesn't mean the absence of trouble. It means standing firm in the middle of chaos, knowing that God is holding everything together. When you're in a storm, it's easy to panic. You start trying to fix everything, to make sense of what's happening, to control what you were never meant to control. But storms reveal something powerful. They show us who we really depend on. When everything is calm, it's easy to say you have faith, but when the wind starts howling and life feels uncertain, that's when your faith is tested. That's when you find out if your trust is in circumstances or in the one who commands the seas. The truth is, peace isn't found in perfect situations. Peace is found in perfect surrender. The storm you're facing isn't meant to drown you. It's meant to deepen your roots. Trees that survive storms are the ones with strong roots, and those roots grow deeper only when they face resistance. In the same way, your faith grows when you face challenges. You can't develop strength in comfort. Growth requires pressure, and peace requires trust. God allows storms not because he wants to hurt you, but because he wants to build something within you that calm weather never could. He wants to teach you that you can be still and steady even when the world around you is shaking. When the disciples were caught in the storm, they panicked while Jesus was asleep in the boat. They thought he didn't care. Jesus wasn't sleeping because he was unaware. He was resting because he was in control. The same is true for you. When it feels like heaven is silent and your prayers aren't being answered, it doesn't mean God is ignoring you. It means he's not worried. The storm that terrifies you is under his authority. He's not pacing the heavens wondering how to fix your life. He already knows the outcome. He just wants you to trust him through it. Sometimes God doesn't calm the storm right away because he's trying to calm you first. If he removes every storm immediately, you'll never learn peace. You'll only learn relief. But when he allows you to face the wind and still find rest, you learn what true faith feels like. Faith isn't pretending the storm isn't real. It's believing that God is greater than the storm. It's the quiet confidence that even if everything else falls apart, you're still safe because he's with you. Every storm has a purpose. Some storms come to redirect you, some come to refine you, and some come to reveal what was already inside you. The storm doesn't introduce weakness. It exposes where your strength truly lies. When you find yourself in chaos and realize that you can't handle it alone, that's not failure, that's revelation. It's the moment you remember that you were never meant to carry it all by yourself. You were meant to trust the one who holds all power. There's something sacred about learning to stand still when everything in you wants to run. When fear tells you to move, to quit, to escape, standing still becomes an act of courage. It's your way of saying, I will not let the storm define my faith. Will not let panic dictate my peace. You might not be able to stop the wind, but you can anchor your soul. You can choose to believe that what's over your head is still under God's feet. And when you make that choice, peace begins to rise within you like a quiet strength that the storm can't take away. There's beauty in staying still long enough to realize that not every battle requires movement. Some require trust. Some require you to step back and let God do what only he can do. When you stop fighting against what you can't control, you make room for God to fight for you. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in doing more, but in surrendering more. Because surrender is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's saying, God, I don't understand this storm, but I know you're in it. I don't see the way out. I trust that you're guiding me through. It's in the storm that you discover the kind of peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. It's in the storm that you realize peace isn't the result of everything going right. It's the result of knowing that even when everything goes wrong, God is still right there with you. The waves might crash, the boat might shake, but his presence remains steady. And when you learn to rest in that truth, no storm can take your peace away. There will come a day when you look back on this season and realize that the storm didn't break you, it built you. Taught you patience, faith, and endurance. It showed you how to rely on God in ways you never had before. You'll see that the same wind that tried to knock you down actually pushed you closer to him. You'll see that what felt like chaos was actually construction. What looked like a delay was preparation, and that what you thought was the end was really the beginning of a deeper strength within you. So if you're in a storm right now, don't be afraid. Don't lose your peace. Stay still even when it's hard. The same God who guided you before will guide you again. The same hand that calmed the sea will calm your heart. And the same presence that was with you in calm will be with you in chaos. Let the storm rage, let the winds blow. Because you know something the storm doesn't, you're not alone in the boat. And as long as he's with you, no wave can sink you. No darkness can defeat you. No storm can silence the peace that he has placed within you. People may walk away, seasons may shift. Relationships you thought would last forever may suddenly come to an end. It's painful when those you trusted the most begin to distance themselves. When voices that once encouraged you grow silent, and when faces that once smiled at you now turn away? What if I told you that people leaving you was never meant to destroy you? What if it was all a part of the divine process to reveal that your purpose doesn't depend on who stays, it depends on who called you? People may walk away, purpose stays. And when purpose stays, no amount of rejection can erase what God has written for your life. It's hard to understand at first. You wonder why the people who once said they'd always be there are suddenly nowhere to be found. You question what you did wrong, why the friendship ended, why the love faded, why support turned into silence. But sometimes it's not that you did anything wrong. It's that your path began to move in a different direction. Some people are not meant to walk with you into every season. They were there to teach you, to shape you, to help you grow, but not to complete you. God will allow people to leave when their part in your story is finished. And no matter how painful that may be, He does it to make room for growth you can't see yet. When you base your confidence on people's presence, you will always feel lost when they leave. When your confidence is rooted in purpose, you can stand even when everyone else walks away, because purpose doesn't walk away. It doesn't change its mind. It doesn't depend on who believes in you. Purpose is planted deep within your soul, and it doesn't need approval to exist. People may misunderstand it, criticize it, or even try to stop it, but they can't erase it. When God has spoken something over your life, even human rejection can silence His intention. Sometimes God will allow separation to show you where your real strength lies. You think you need certain people to succeed, but God knows you don't. You think their presence is what's keeping you afloat. God knows it's His hand that's been holding you all along. When He starts removing people, it's not because He wants to hurt you. It's because He wants to show you that you've been leaning too heavily on them. You've been finding identity in company instead of in calling. And until you learn to stand without their validation, you'll never discover the power of standing in His will. The truth is, some people can't handle your next level. They were comfortable with you when you were smaller, quieter, less focused, less anointed. But now that you're growing, stretching, and changing, they can't recognize you anymore. They were connected to your comfort zone, not your calling. And when God starts moving you into your next chapter, He'll sometimes let those people drift away because they can't carry the weight of where you're going. Don't chase what God removed. Don't try to drag people into seasons they were never meant to survive in. Let them go with grace, because your purpose doesn't leave with them. You may not see it right now, but every person who walked away did you a favor. They made space for what's coming. They made room for peace. They cleared distractions that were clouding your focus. The same people who left might have been standing in the way of your clarity. While it hurts to lose them, it's better to lose company than to lose yourself. It's better to walk alone with purpose than to walk with a crowd going nowhere. Purpose doesn't shrink when you're alone, it shines. Because when you no longer have people clapping for you, you learn how to clap for yourself. When you no longer have their encouragement, you discover your inner strength. When you no longer hear their approval, you finally begin to hear God clearly. And what you'll find is that His voice is enough. His approval is enough. His presence is enough. The absence of people does not mean the absence of purpose. In fact, sometimes it's in the loneliness that your purpose becomes the loudest. There will come a time when those who left will look back and realize that you didn't stop when they did. You didn't fall apart when they withdrew. You didn't quit when they doubted. You kept going. You kept building. You kept believing. And they'll see that the purpose they walked away from was still working even in their absence. Because what God starts, no man can stop. You are not defined by who left. You are defined by what remains. And what remains is the unshakable calling that no one can take from you. Don't spend your time mourning over who walked away. Instead, thank God for the clarity that came through their departure. Every goodbye taught you something. Every rejection redirected you closer to destiny. Every betrayal showed you where not to place your trust again. You learned that peace is better than people pleasing. You learned that solitude is better than shallow support. You learned that walking alone with purpose is far more powerful than walking together without direction. So stand firm in this truth. People may leave. Purpose stays. You don't have to chase them, convince them, or beg them to see your worth. Let their absence refine you, not define you. Let it strengthen your focus instead of breaking your faith, because the ones who are meant to walk with you will align with your purpose, not compete with it. And the ones who aren't meant to stay will fade, no matter how tightly you hold on. You are entering a season where God is showing you that you can keep moving even when familiar faces disappear. You can keep building even when voices go silent. You can keep believing even when you feel unseen, because your journey was never about the people. It was always about the purpose. They may have walked away. Purpose is still alive, still breathing, still waiting for you to keep walking in it. Don't let temporary loss make you forget eternal promise. You've been chosen, appointed, and equipped, and what's meant for you will not pass you by. So lift your head. Stop crying over closed doors and fading friendships. They were never the source. They were just the season. Your purpose doesn't end when they leave. It expands, because when everyone else walks away, that's when God steps in closer. That's when you realize you never needed them to begin with. You just needed Him. And as long as He's still with you, your purpose will still stand. Your destiny will still unfold. Your journey will still lead exactly where it's meant to go. There comes a time in every life when confusion settles like a fog, when nothing seems to make sense, and you begin to wonder why things are happening the way they are. You pray, but the answers don't come. You plan, but nothing unfolds the way you thought it would. You try to hold it all together, but it feels like everything is falling apart. In those moments, it's easy to think you've done something wrong, that maybe God is punishing you, that maybe the pain is a result of failure. You need to hear this truth deep within your soul. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. This is not the end of your story. This is the shaping of your strength. What you see as a delay is actually divine training. What you feel as loss is really a lesson. Seems like a setback is simply God's way of setting you up for something far greater than you can see right now. When God has a plan for your life, He doesn't train you in comfort, He trains you in pressure. Because purpose carries weight. And if He doesn't build your strength before He releases your assignment, the weight of what's coming will crush you. So He allows moments that stretch you, test your faith, that press you beyond what you think you can endure. He's not trying to destroy you. He's trying to prepare you for what He already knows is ahead. You see only the pain, but He sees the potential. You see the confusion. He sees the construction. You see yourself breaking down, but He knows He's building something unshakable inside of you. Think about it. A soldier doesn't train in peace to fight in battle. He trains in hardship so that when the fight comes, he's ready. In the same way, you are being trained through every difficulty you face. Every disappointment is strengthening your endurance. Every delay is teaching you patience. Every loss is molding your heart to hold more grace, more humility, more faith. God is teaching you how to stand strong when you feel weak, how to trust Him when you can't trace Him, how to praise even when you don't understand. This is the kind of strength that can't be learned through ease. It has to be formed through experience. You might be wondering why the road feels lonely, why people don't understand your journey, why everything you thought would work out seems to be falling apart. It's because God is training you privately for a purpose that will be revealed publicly. He's teaching you things in the dark that you'll need to stand in the light. He's showing you how to depend on Him completely so that when your breakthrough comes, you'll know exactly where your strength came from. You won't give credit to luck, people, or chance. You'll know it was Him all along. Sometimes God allows pressure not to harm you, to reveal what's inside you. Pressure shows what's real. When you're under strain, your faith is tested. When you're pressed, your true foundation is exposed. If your peace depends on everything going right, then your peace isn't real. It's circumstantial. When you can remain calm, grateful, and faithful even When nothing makes sense, that's when you've grown. That's when you know that what's inside you is greater than what's against you. You may be praying for God to take away the trial. He's using the trial to train you. You're asking him to remove the burden, but he's using it to build your strength. You're asking him to end the season, but he's using the season to prepare you for what's next. He knows what's coming, and he loves you too much to let you face it unprepared. So he lets you walk through situations that seem unfair. He allows silence that tests your patience. He permits pain that refines your spirit, and while it feels uncomfortable now, it's all part of the preparation process. There will come a moment when everything you're going through will make sense. One day, you'll look back and realize that every closed door, every heartbreak, every lonely night, every unanswered prayer was preparing you for where you are meant to be. You'll understand why it had to happen that way, why certain people left, why certain plans failed, and why certain dreams took longer than you hoped. You'll see that God's timing was never late. It was perfect. You'll see that the pain you went through wasn't punishment, it was positioning. It was the hand of God guiding you into purpose, even when you couldn't see it. You can't expect preparation to be easy, because preparation always involves change. God can't prepare you for more while you cling to what's less. He can't fill your hands if they're already full of what he's asking you to release. So he shakes things up. He removes what you thought you needed. He closes doors that you tried to force open. He changes your environment so that you'll learn to rely on him fully. The things that feel like endings are often beginnings in disguise. You might not like the process, but the process is what makes you ready for the promise. Don't mistake God's silence for his absence. Don't confuse his discipline for his rejection. He's not ignoring you. He's instructing you. He's teaching you how to wait, how to trust, how to endure. And when he's done training you, you'll see that the strength you developed in this season is exactly what you'll need in the next one. You'll realize that you didn't just survive the preparation, you were shaped by it. So hold on. Don't give up just because it's hard. Don't quit just because it hurts. Every tear, every challenge, every lonely night is a piece of your preparation. You may not see it now. You're becoming stronger, wiser, and more focused. You're being shaped into someone who can handle the weight of destiny without breaking. You're learning to trust in ways you never have before. And when the time comes, when the preparation turns into manifestation, you'll see that it was worth it all. God's training ground is not a place of comfort. It's a place of transformation. You are not being punished. You are being prepared for something greater than you can imagine. The fire you're walking through is refining you, not destroying you. Pain you feel is not the end. It's the beginning of strength being born. So even if you don't understand it, keep walking, keep believing, keep trusting. Because one day you'll thank him for not answering your prayers the way you wanted. You'll thank him for every delay that led to destiny. And you'll realize that this was never punishment. It was preparation for everything you were created to be.